And finally, in our democracy, the continued strength of our all-volunteer force also rests on something else. A strong bond of respect and trust between those in uniform and the citizens that you protect and defend. At a time when too few Americans truly understand the realities or sacrifices of military service. At a time when many political leaders have not served. If some in the military begin to feel as though somehow they are apart from the larger society they serve, those bonds can fray. As every generation learns anew, freedom is not free. And so while less than 1% of Americans may be fighting our wars, %100 of Americans can do their parts at the very least to support you and your families. Everybody can do something, every business, every profession, every school, every community. Every state to reach out and to give back, and to let you know that we care. To help make the lives of our troops and your families just a little bit easier. Everybody can do something. And that's why Michelle and Jill Biden have mobilized more Americans. To honor and support you and your families through joining forces. And that's why, even after we leave the White House, Michelle and I intend to keep on looking for ways to help rally more of our fellow citizens to be there for you, just like you've always been there for us. So we can't say it enough and we can't show it enough. Thank you for your patriotism. Thank you for your professionalism. Thank you for your character in representing the very best of the American spirit. Our nation endures, we live free under the red, white and blue. Because of patriots like you. It has been a privilege of a lifetime to serve with you. I have learned much from you. I'm a better man having worked with you. I'm confident that the United States and our armed forces will remain. The greatest force for freedom and security that the world has ever known. God bless you and your families. And God bless the United States of America. Barack Obama. ASEAN Business and Investment Summit Address. Delivered November 21, 2015, Shangri-La Hotel, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Well, good morning, and thank you for welcoming me here today. Before I begin, I want to say a few words about the appalling terrorist attack in Mali. We're still learning the facts. But what we do know is that gunmen stormed a hotel in the capital of Bamako that was filled with citizens from a number of nations, many of whom were there to help the people of Mali build a lasting peace. The terrorists began ruthlessly killing people and taking hostages. And so, on behalf of the American people, I want to extend our deepest condolences. To the people of Mali and the victims' families, including at least one American. These were innocent people who had everything to live for. And they will be remembered for the joy and love that they brought to the world. And we are grateful to all those who responded and risked their own lives to save others. Malian security forces and all our own diplomatic security agents rushed in to pull people to safety. French troops and American forces who were in the country for training missions provided support. As did United Nations forces. And thanks to the swift action and skill of all involved, many people escaped and lives were saved. And the terrorists were prevented from causing even more bloodshed. But I want the American people to know that we're still working to account for Americans. Who may have been at the hotel and to ensure the safety of all of our citizens in Mali. Like the heinous attacks we saw in Paris and attacks we see all too often elsewhere. This is another awful reminder that the scourge of terrorism threatens so many of our nations. And once again, this barbarity only stiffens our resolve to meet this challenge. We will stand with the people of Mali as they work to rid their country of terrorists and strengthen their democracy. With allies and partners, the United States will be relentless against those who target our citizens. We'll continue to root out terrorist networks. We will not allow these killers to have a safe haven. And as I've seen throughout my trip this week, nations around the world including countries represented here today are united in our determination to protect our people, to push back on the hateful ideologies that fuel this terrorism. And to stand up for the universal values of tolerance and respect for human dignity that unites us and makes us stronger than any terrorist. This is the work we must do together. This is the future that we have to build together. And that's why I'm here today. I want to thank everyone at the ASEAN Business Advisory Council for welcoming us. Those of you here today represent the strength and diversity of all 10 ASEAN nations. I'm pleased that we're joined by our friends from the American-Malaysian Chamber of Commerce. And the U.S. ASEAN Business Council. And I especially want to thank our outstanding hosts, the government and people of Malaysia, this year's ASEAN Chair. Terima kasih banyak. Now, as I mentioned before, Southeast Asia holds a special place in my heart. As a boy, I lived in Indonesia, where for many years my mother dedicated herself to empowering rural women. And as president, I've worked to deepen America's engagement in this region. I was proud to be the first U.S. president to meet with the leaders of all 10 ASEAN countries, the first U.S. president to attend the East Asia Summit, and this visit marks my 6th meeting with ASEAN. And today, ASEAN is one of the largest markets for you. Exports, and American businesses invest more in ASEAN than any other of these regions. It's one of the reasons that, while I've been in office, we've boosted our exports across Asia by more than 50%, to record levels. And I congratulate all the ASEAN nations, after many years of work, on launching the new ASEAN community. I look forward to becoming the first U.S. president to visit Laos when it hosts ASEAN next year. America's closer ties with this region are part of a larger story. When I became president, I made a strategic decision that after a decade in which the United States had focused so heavily elsewhere, especially the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, that we would rebalance our foreign policy and play a larger and long-term role here in the Asia-Pacific. I made this decision with an appreciation of history, how the United States as a Pacific power, has been a stabilizing presence here for 7 decades. And I made it with an eye on the future, because as the home of half of humanity, and some of the fastest growing markets in the world, the security and prosperity of the Asia-Pacific is vital to the national interests of the United States. And deeper partnerships with our allies and partners in this. Region can help us meet global challenges, including terrorism. So I put forward a vision of the future our nations can build together. A future of mutual security and peace, where international law and norms are upheld and where disputes are resolved by dialogue and diplomacy. A future of open markets and trade that is free and fair. A future of freedom, where government is based on the will of the people. Citizens are empowered by democratic governance and the inherent dignity and human rights of all people are upheld. In pursuit of this vision, the United States has deepened our engagement. With the region across the board, we've strengthened our alliances. We've modernized our defense posture. More U.S. forces are rotating. Through more parts of the region for training and exercises. We've expanded our cooperation with emerging powers and economies like Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and India. We're working to build a constructive relationship with China. Where we cooperate more, where our interests align, even as we candidly confront areas of disagreement. We've stood up for democracy, for human rights, and for development. We've called for a return to civilian rule in Thailand. And we're forging new partnerships to help educate girls and young women in Cambodia. Just yesterday, I met with some extraordinary young people from our Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, more than 55. Young innovators who are going to shape this region for decades to come. And we're going to sustain our engagement with the people of Myanmar. The landslide victory of Aung San Suu Kyi's National League of Democracy. Gives hope for a Burma that is inclusive and united, peaceful and democratic. In other words, even as the United States has dealt with pressing challenges in other parts of the world, our rebalance to Asia-Pacific has continued full force. And now, we're ready to take the next step by moving ahead with the highest standard trade agreement in history, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Four of your nations are already part of TPP: Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore, and Vietnam. Along with the United States, it also includes Australia, Japan, New Zealand, Canada, Mexico, Peru, and Chile. When implemented, it won't just boost trade and support jobs in our 12 countries. It will help set stronger rules for trade across the Asia-Pacific. And that's what I want to talk about today.